learning objectives, success criteria, steps to success, learning intentions. These are all words that are used really commonly in education, and as new teachers, as NQTs, and as student teachers, they can be very confusing in terms of what is what the differences are and how they're used in lessons. So I thought I'd create a really quick video talking to you about what a learning objective is, what a success criteria is, what steps to success are, and the impact they can have in a classroom if they are used correctly. Hello, I'm Ben from Waggo Teaching and welcome to the latest episode. I'm going to talk to you, as I've said before, all about the difference between learning objectives, success criteria and steps to success. I'm also going to throw in a few extras just for good measure, hopefully not to confuse you, but really just to pinpoint exactly what each one is, what it should be, and what impact it can have in a classroom if you use it correctly, because they can be confusing and there can be grey areas in between. And sometimes what we're talking about when we talk about learning objectives can be really simple, but be put across to you as student teachers, as new teachers, as NQTs, in a really complex way that doesn't really need to be. So I just thought I'd break it down for you briefly in a quick video to give you a bit of help. Okay, so the first one that I want to talk to you about are learning objectives. So the learning objective is what you want the children to learn. It's usually taken for the curriculum, but learning objectives in the national curriculum can be quite big and they can actually have lots of different skills in between. So the learning objective in your lesson sometimes is a part or a whole of a curriculum objective. So you take the curriculum, you split it up, you put in what you want the children to learn in that individual lesson. Some people refer to this as learning intentions. It's exactly the same thing. It's what you intend for the children to learn during your lesson. And so it's really important that children understand what they're learning about, what the focus of a lesson is, and they can refer to it all the time during the lesson. But as a teacher, it's even more important that you know exactly what you want your children to learn or what you intend for the children to learn. That's the difference between a learning intention and a learning objective. It's the same thing, just a slightly different piece of language. But they are really important in making sure your lessons are focused and clear for the students. Okay, the next one, success criteria. So once you've got your learning objective, the next thing you want your children to understand is how are they going to show you that they have met that learning objective, that they understand what they were meant to have learned. And really it's about you showing you as a teacher what they understand. So you plan lots of different activities for the students to do to demonstrate their learning. And really it's that demonstration that makes up your success criteria. So success criteria is how do the students show that they've been successful during the lesson. So for example, if they're learning about adjectives, the learning objective is to know what an adjective is. The success criteria might have different aspects to it. So first of all, it might be that they can tell you what an adjective is by saying a definition. It might be that they can then identify some adjectives in a piece of text or a sentences. It might then be able to that they can come up with their own adjectives. It might be that a child identifies misconceptions in other people's work about adjectives, where a child has accidentally identified a verb instead of an adjective. As long as that child can say, oh, they've made a mistake, actually an adjective looks like this. They're showing you how successful they have been. And so success criteria is all about children showing you as a teacher how they've been successful in their learning and how they've met the learning objective. Sometimes success criteria can be staggered, so they start with simple ideas and they move up to more complex ways of showing their understanding. Some people would use success criteria like almost some. So this is a success criteria that is for all students. All students must be able to do this. Most students must be able to do this, and then some children might be able to do this really complex one at the top. Some schools use chili challenges, but basically it's all the same thing. Success criteria is about how the children show you that they have understood the learning objective. And then finally, we have steps to success. Now, some schools will use steps to success as a success criteria. So they don't have a success criteria, they have a steps to success. which is basically, again, a staggered number of steps of how they demonstrate what they have learned. But for me, steps to success is clearly different, and this is key. Steps to success is about a method. So, for example, it's really useful for children who struggle to follow instructions to have some steps to success. So, for example, in mathematics, you might be teaching children the column method. The objective would be for the children to be able to use the column method to add. The success criteria might be, well, first of all, I'm going to be successful in showing how to use the column method by adding two-digit numbers together, 23 and 44. The next part of the success criteria might be 3 digits, then it might be decimals, then it might to explain the mistakes that another child has made in the column method in order to really develop their understanding. But regardless of all of that, some children who might find it complicated to complete a column method all in one go might be provided with a steps to success, which is basically a how-to set of sentences to complete the column method. So the first step might be to put the numbers on top of each other, making sure the place values are right. Then it might be to add the units first, then the tens, then to carry. All those steps to success is basically a method of how to do something. Likewise in writing, we use things like slow writes, where it's write the first sentence using a verb, then write a second sentence using a simile, then write the next sentence using a conjunction. That is basically a steps to success, a set series of instructions about how they can form and complete a piece of work and go through a process. So steps to success can be really useful for some of the students that might need a little bit of extra support on how to complete a certain process. And so there we have it, the difference between a learning objective or learning intention, success criteria and steps to success. All three can be really, really useful in lessons if understood by the teacher and implemented in a really clear way. Learning objective is all about what you want the children to learn. Success criteria is how are the children going to demonstrate that they've been successful in a lesson. And the steps to success is really a listed method of how to go through a process that might otherwise be a bit too complex for certain students. So I hope this episode has been useful. My name is Ben Cooper from Jargon Teaching. I try and create videos like this that answer some of your questions that you have about education and teaching that can be a little bit complicated, but actually are quite straightforward when somebody just breaks it down for you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our podcast. Whichever way you like to listen to these episodes, please make sure you share them with your colleagues and teacher friends. I hope this episode has been really useful for you. If you have any more questions about it, then please fire away underneath in the comment boxes or on our social media channels, and I will be happy to get back to you and answer any questions you have. I hope this episode has been really useful. Have a really great